KFUG Community Radio. Good morning. 6 minutes into the 10 o'clock hour. Paul Kurtz with you. And I also have, let me turn everybody's microphones on here in the studio. We are continuing our cavalcade of Harbor Commissioner candidates, I guess we call them. And I have Jessica St. Andrews of Redwood Voice Community News. How you doing, Jessica?
I'm good.
So is that what we call them, Harbor Commissioner candidates? Is there a shorter name?
Not really.
Not really. That's it. We spoke Monday to Dan Schmidt and to Annie Niemer, who came in and shared their visions for Crescent City Harbor. And today we are kicking off community service. Devon Morgante. Is it Morgante or Morgante?
I like the Morgante.
Okay, that's what I like.
That's how, my grandpa from Italy, there was definitely Morgante.
Morgante, yes, that's it, Devon. So Devon Morgante running for Harbor Commission. We remember Devon. Devon and Michelle, of course, ran Vita Cucina, and Devon's still involved with us eating here in Del Norte. The Sergeant Peepers might be fixating a little bit on Devon here, which might get in the way. So.
That's fine.
Oh, you sure? You all right with it?
Yeah.
You got a cat biting him.
He's playful.
So running for Harbor Commissioner, the first, and I think the place to start is why? Why decide to run for Harbor Commissioner of all offices? Why the Harbor?
It's funny. Looking at the Harbor, I definitely, as being here for about the last 19 years, we always enjoyed, the harbor and looking at it and kind of always thinking, comparing it to other harbors up and down the coast and thinking it could be a lot more and not really knowing the background or the policies and stuff that led it to where it is now.
Yeah.
So looking at it, thinking that it is really a diamond in the rough. There's a lot of things that could be done to improve the harbor and stuff. And then as you start peeling back the layers, you're like, oh, it's not just about small business development. It's not just about the fishermen's and their access and, potentially something like a port-to-plate program where they can sell their seafood. It's like you start getting to the infrastructure and, infrastructure and maintenance, the safety. And I guess there's a lot of different layers and stuff. So, for myself, having that business background, having Vita Cucina for 10 years, and understanding what it means to have a small business in this area, some of the developments that the harbor wants to do may focus around food service, so I tend to hopefully I can lend that experience and education towards providing insight into some of those projects that are going to be, restaurant or food service oriented. Just kind of like really kind of being a part of the process. A lot of people have asked me, well, what's your agenda? And I kind of look at it, I was like, well, I don't want to come to it with an agenda.
Right.
I want to hear the community's concerns and everything, and then filter that through that education and experience, work with the other people on the commission, work with, the harbor master, and come up with a solution. I'm definitely one of the people that is like, 3 steps forward, 1 step back is not necessarily a bad thing as long as we're always moving forward.
Right.
I definitely want to be moving forward. So compromise is a big thing. Like I said, listen to the community and hopefully being able to answer their needs and concerns.
It seems like with the harbor, too, it's one of those entities that once you start digging, once you get under the surface, like an onion, you just keep going deeper and deeper and finding more levels of how this all works and the interplay between these different things.
Absolutely. One of the things that really gave me hope was when Commissioner Shepard, a couple harbor meetings ago, said that he felt we got it wrong, trying to keep Crescent City small or trying to keep, kind of people out, keep it our own little secret area, which is something I heard actually 20 years ago from a restaurant owner when we first moved to town about there being like a focused effort on keeping us small, you know, and realistically, you look at Crescent City geographically, we can't expand out into the ocean. You can't expand out into the National Redwood Forest. So you really do have to work with what you have. You know, there's not going to be a lot of that expansion. So when he kind of said, we got it wrong, we really need to open this up and look at some bigger pictures of things. And I just look at right now, you go back, 20 years, $150,000, $200,000 investment into a business in the harbor could have got something that would have been here now, producing everything for those last 20 years. Right now, you put $200,000 into something in the harbor, you know,
lucky if it pans out.
yeah, that's not that much these days. I mean, it's going to take a lot more to do that. So your return on investment now is a lot less than it would have been back then. And I kind of think that's what Shepard was kind of alluding to, is had we done some of these investments early on, basically like planting those seeds early on, we would have been reaping the benefit of that now. So my goal now is to let's get some of those projects going now. So in 10 years, 20 years, we're reaping those benefits.
So you spoke of food service not that long ago. Is there anything in particular, any development that you would see that you think would be good for both the Harbor District and for the community?
Well, one idea, or some ideas that some people who are close to the harbor were kind of floating around, was like a food truck court, an idea of a food truck court. So we've got, up in Portland, I've seen them over in Medford. There's a lot of different areas where you get 4, 5, 6, 7 different food trucks together. They've got like maybe a big metal, kind of common seating area underneath an area. Thriving. People get to, go to, different have choices, options, and everything. And I said, well, that's a great idea. Where are they going to throw their garbage away? Where are they going to get their deliveries? Where are they going to prep? And then all of a sudden they're like scratching their heads thinking, whoa, wait a second, there's a lot more to this than we thought of just hooking up a couple food trucks and, selling some food. So I said, well, what if you had a communal kitchen area that these different businesses, the food trucks, could all utilize as their prep areas? You could have different storage areas. You could even put it under the guidelines of do educational cooking classes or canning or preserving classes, of like in the fall after the harvest and stuff. So you can have it be multi-use. But now these food trucks have a much better opportunity for success because they have a place to store their product, they have a place to prep their product, they have a place to get rid of their food properly and do all those things properly. And if they have that shared area, they're going to be able to, share that expense also.
That makes so. I mean, envisioning sort of a covered area like they have now or they put up recently in the parking lot there adjacent to the marina. That kind of like open space that's sort of protected from the elements.
That's the I think when you're talking about those are the solar panel areas or whatever.
I'm up from the bottom. They just look like roofs.
They do, and that was the point.
It
was the point to create kind of these like carport structures.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just basically like they had this idea, and then again, like filtering it through my experience in education, saying, well, okay, that's a great idea, but let's think about these elements and do those still pencil out. There is a lot of money out there in the forms of grants and stuff, and so applying for educational grants or infrastructure, those types of things could definitely help offset some of those expenses we were talking about earlier.
Well, and I feel like somebody like, for example, Josh Mims, who's been working on a kind of a fillet station, a cooperative type fillet station to provide local fishermen a local avenue to sell their catch locally. How many times can you say local in a sentence?
Locally? Several.
Yeah, right. That sounds like it would very much tie into something that you're talking about, a communal kitchen type aspect where anybody who's operating these potential food court could utilize, or even maybe you can rent it out to members of the community.
Exactly. That's the kind of the idea. If you build it the right way and it's big enough, you can have people rent it out for a couple hours. I know there's a lot of people I've rented a lot of people that want to make their own hot sauces. They've got like the cottage kitchen thing where they're trying to do it in their house. But if they had a commercial kitchen that maybe had something that they could do more volume, like if there was a piece of equipment called a tilt skillet where you could, potentially prepare several gallons of a product all at once. So instead of making 3 or 4 or 5 batches at home, they could rent this out, make one batch.
And then what do? You tilt it and it pours off? You can just pour it off? Is that why it's called a tilt skillet?
Yep. So it's we had them down in Antarctica, and there could be, they could be, 15 gallons or so,
Yeah. But it's like fixed, so you can turn it, right?
Yeah. So it's basically like a big electric skillet.
Okay.
Or they have gas or steam ones in the kettles and stuff like that.
Wow.
But anyway, you can cook it for volume cooking, And then, you crank and it's slowly tilts and you can pour out your product. And
That's nice,
yeah.
That's a genius. We need several of those at the harbor.
Yes.
So I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to ask if you've gone to any Harbor Commission meetings recently, and kind of what your take is on the way they're run, on just, what's been happening at the harbor in general.
I have been. I've been going to them for probably the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 months or so. And it's interesting, the procedure, the public comment and just the procedure that we have to kind of go through is good, because, you want to follow the rules. You want to give everybody a voice and you want to go through that process, but not coming from that process and all of a sudden sitting in and witnessing it, you're kind of realizing the different, again, layers of process that you have to go through. But,
I think with the Harbor Commission, you're also witnessing a lot of layers of not process happening at the same time, right? I mean, isn't that some of the criticisms of how?
Yeah.
And with some of the things that I know right now, obviously we have an interim, harbor master and stuff. So, looking at just kind of like how it was run, the vision and the goal of it, which I've never going to the meetings. I've never really seen like that main vision or goals. Like this is our goal. This is our vision. How do we get there? Okay, we need to get there by creating these 4 goals. How do we achieve these 4 goals? And then you break those goals down, and then you work on it, and all of a sudden you've got your vision. Whereas right now it kind of seems like it does kind of bounce around. And I do like the idea that they're doing the economic development. They did spend, I think, $10,000 to have an economic development study come through, which I think is great, because now we're having outside eyes really take a look at it. $10,000 seems like a lot, but I think they originally wanted to spend 30, and they pulled it back to 10 to just get that initial, like, hey, what could this really look like? So I think it's a process, and we're kind of moving through it. And I hope that, the new commissioners coming on are willing to, work together, compromise, and let's come up with some vision and break those visions down to goals and start working on this.
You said earlier that, an investment of, say, a couple $100,000 20 years ago, who knows how big it would have been now.
Yeah.
Is that what's been missing in your estimation with the harbor? Is that kind of lack of meta vision or direction? It seems... Is it more? Are they just reacting to the next tsunami, basically, or trying to rebuild and things?
It's hard, because a lot of people will point fingers, and say, well, the Coastal Commission won't let us do this,
right,
or the permits won't let us do that, or the regulation this, or the regulation that. And I look down and say, well, what about Carmel? What about Santa Barbara? What about Santa Cruz? Like, these are all California harbors and coastal communities. Why do they have it and we don't? So I'd like to ask the Coastal Commission that, like, why are they a thriving harbor and we're not? So obviously we should be able to do everything that they're doing. I know there's some different, environmental studies and stuff like that have to get done on some sort of things, some projects. But realistically, why not Crescent City? Why can't Crescent City have a beautiful boardwalk with lots of little shops and little different eateries and, the surfboard rental place and the communal kitchen with the food trucks, and make it actually a destination? I'm sorry, I'm just jumping, just because you took the pause. Sorry.
It's okay. I just was going to ask what you think. I don't think Carmel has a harbor.
Well, I'm just saying, it's just development on the coast.
Right.
Right. So the Coastal Commission is going to do, whether it's a harbor or anywhere on the coast, they're going to be involved with it.
The Coastal Commission influenced where our antenna was located once, actually.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. But so Is Crescent City Harbor a working harbor or a tourist destination harbor, or is that kind of dichotomy false?
I think it can be both. I mean, it definitely has to be a working harbor, and that's one of the things, like harbor, the safety involved. The harbor has to be safe. It has to have safe access for us. That's why we're talking about the interbasin dredging and all the dredging stuff, to make sure that's safe for the boats and everything to come in, and while they're stored there, at low tide and stuff. So, definitely has to be that working harbor. In order to, obviously there's a lot of things. Again, this goes into a lot of those layers. You've got a working harbor. One of the big things is the ice, so the ice machines and makers, there used to be, I want to say 6 or 7 of them back in the day.
Wow.
When it was a lot of shrimp trawlers and a lot of, active boats in the harbor. Now we've got one ice machine that actually isn't even running at full capacity. So that's even a little bit of a, it wants to run at full capacity, but we're only running at like 60%.
The operator just left.
Yeah. So you need to have that ice there, So, I mean, that's, if the ice is gone, the fishermen are going to go somewhere else, right. So those are the different like layers. Again, you need to have these things. They need to have the safe harbor. It needs to be dredged. And then again, you get to the finance side. Well, it also needs to be, financially sound, which would be bringing different businesses in and stuff to, help out with that. So, and then it's also not just bringing business in, it's looking at the current harbor expenses. Like, where can we trim? Where are we spending money where we may not need to be spending that much money, and looking at that. So you want to have both, look at it from both sides, I guess.
How would you go about working with the different commissioners on the board? Like, because they all have different ideas and different opinions on what would be best for the harbor. What's the matter?
I'm looking at the music that Bryce loaded up. That's all.
They might be different than yours. They might be similar. Like, where would you start as a newcomer?
Well, one thing is there's going to be 3 new harbor commissioners. There's going to be 2 that are staying, that are going to stay on or whatever. I think it's all about communication. You want to talk. We both, again, if our vision is our vision, whether we can all agree on the vision, okay, well, now how do we get there? We know we need to get there. Let's work on getting there.
Right.
Like, that's a lot of people. You think the harbor's going to look the same way now in 20 years? And everyone shakes their head and says, no. Okay, well, we know it's going to be different. So let's make it different.
Let's have something to do with that.
Yeah, let's exactly. Let's make it, the way we want it to be then. Let's just drive that and, let's get the ship going in the right direction.
Great.
I got one.
Okay, go for it.
What about wind?
The wind?
Yes. That's gonna be my
Yes.
question.
Not wind energy, just wind in general. No, no. About the talk about making Crescent City part of the Crescent City Harbor part of the maintenance infrastructure for the wind turbines and things out there, and just the existence of the wind turbines at all out there. We've heard from we had Annie Niemer here, who's comes from a fisherman background side, and she was totally against the wind development out there for a whole bunch of reasons. I don't know what your feelings are on that.
Yeah, I mean, my instinct is it's a new technology. I think, just on the surface, it looks really good. I think that wind energy or using that just kinetic energy that's naturally out there is a good way to go. I'd want to look into the viability of it out there, because something that Harry Adams said is that ocean is so unforgiving. If you put, something out there that's tethered out there and the waves are going and stuff like that, I mean, it does have that potential. But if you look down in, Eureka and stuff, and they're doing it, and if they go through the process and it's, and they have them in other places, and you're looking at examples of it and it's working, then that could be a huge boom for us. And if we do have a maintenance yard for that, and they're coming and going, again, safety for the harbor, for them to come into port, be safe or whatever, do their maintenance and go back and forth. I definitely think it deserves a closer look.
Well, I'm curious how viable that is now, because in Oregon, I believe they canceled the lease sale in Oregon.
Oh, did they? I haven't been following what's going on up there. I know that the kickback has been like surprising just across the spectrum. It seems people are going, maybe not here, maybe not these.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's an advisory measure on the Curry County and the Coos County ballots that are like, do you want this?
Yeah.
And both boards of commissioners have said we are. I think Curry County's was like, hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no.
That's
Yeah. So I guess the question would be, how is it wise for Del Norte County to kind of bank on the possibility of becoming an operations and maintenance hub?
I don't get that. let me characterize the sense that I've gotten from what you've said, and then you can tell me if it's bunk or not. But it seems like it almost is like that's going to happen or it's not going to happen, and that's sort of separate from what we're doing here in Crescent City Harbor anyway. And so instead of like coming out with a big stance, it's sort of like I get a feeling from you're saying, maybe we just go about our business, make sure we have the best harbor we have or can have, and then if that happens, we can be prepared for that. If it doesn't happen, it's not going to knock the wind out of us.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to hang. Yeah, you definitely don't want to put all your money on on that facet of the harbor development. But definitely do your due diligence, do your research and stuff. And I want to focus on the harbor, where it is right now and what we can do right now.
Right.
And I do think that there's that wind energy or solar energy is definitely politicized, and I think a lot of people start making statements and stuff without actually really doing a lot of that research and everything, and really understanding the viability of it. And of course, I can understand the fisherman's perspective, because obviously it's going to be out there. They want to obviously stay away from it. There's potential for pollution or different things like that. So you want to look at all of those things and make sure we're not putting that out there, and then in 7 years the oil has made the fish go away because there's pollution or whatever. Obviously nobody wants that. So you want to like I said, do your homework and see if it's actually going to be a viable source. But the main thing is really focus on the harbor right here right now.
Right. It is 10:27. You're tuned to KFUG Community Radio. Paul Kritz with you, along with Jessica St. Andrews of Redwood Voice Community News. And we're speaking with Devon Morgante, who is running for Harbor Commission. And that election is what? Oh, yikes.
It's 3 weeks away.
Well, there you go. How's the campaign been? Is this your first campaign ever running for anything?
This is my first campaign. Yeah.
What have you learned?
Actually, what have I learned?
I guess we'll have to wait for election day to see if it's been worth it.
Well, it's interesting. One of the neat things is going around talking to people. A lot of people remember me from Vita Cucina and stuff. So definitely have that relationship. But then just getting out there talking with people. I did some canvassing 2 weeks ago on Saturday in the Pebble Beach area, and just talking to different people, like hearing what some of their concerns and stuff are. Everyone seems to have a really they would like the harbor to be more than what it is right now. So that's definitely a consensus. If they're saying, hey, you know what, if we can make it better, then I'm all for it, working towards it to be better. And so it's just neat getting out there talking with people. And I've obviously looking forward to the election, but haven't really, I don't know, it hasn't really changed, me myself. I mean, this being my first one, I don't know what to expect. So I'm just kind of out there doing it, talking with people. And now that the ballots have been out, I've gotten a lot of messages, people saying that they've, already voted and stuff like that. So that's always kind of, cool. Nice to hear and everything.
And, and if you've already voted, disregard this interview, I guess. I don't know. But
no, thanks for your vote.
No, there you go. Wait a minute. That makes it sound like it's a campaign thing now. Hold on.
You said that a lot of people want the harbor to be more than it is. What are their ideas of what more they want it to be?
I think when people drive up and down the coast, they see other harbors or other boardwalk areas, or just I think they just see that and they think, why not here? Why not here? And then a couple of years ago, or maybe more than a couple, but when Brookings redid their harbor and everything, and then people go up the harbor and they're like, look at this, come on, let's do this here. So I think that's kind of the angst. They're seeing it in other places and thinking, why not us?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, what do you see, why not us? What do you see could go at the heart? Could there be a boardwalk or a what? No,
I kind of have like the underbelly of that question. Go ahead.
Okay, go for it.
Has there been in your estimation, again, familiarizing yourself with the harbor, it seems like there's been a really problematic relationship between a lot of harbor entity and the renters out there and the businesses that have been out there, from England Marina to the
Blacksmith.
Exactly, all the stuff that's been. It seems like maybe it's just the nature of news, right? But everything that I read about or find out about or that Jessica tells us about, it's fraught.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like it's an easy kind of scene out there for at least renter-landlord relationships. Do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, the only insight that I have on that really is a lot of these contracts were written years ago under different harbor master, different harbor commissions and everything. And then, of course, you have these long contracts, and of course, harbor commissioners change, harbor master change, and now those are put on our lap, or the current commissioner's laps to deal with and stuff. So, again, me moving forward, and working with the new commissioners, like every new lease, every new thing, like really make sure that it's going to be mutually beneficial and stuff. And, you want to go over those contracts. And, I know that some of the contracts for the different leases there's like certain percentages of like profits and stuff. And that's one of the things I've heard from the renters there, that it's really great in the winter time, when they're a little bit slower, but man, it really sticks it to them when they're in the summertime, when they're building all their money. So it's like, well, let's look at some of those contracts and maybe we put a cap. So it actually makes sense. Like, it's going to be X percentage up until this amount, and anything over that is going to be,
flatten out
it'll just flatten out. It'll be that amount. And if it's all penciled out ahead of time, and you can, you know what those numbers are, that's going to be beneficial to that leasee to say, hey, you know what, during the summertime, I'm only going to be paying this amount. Anything over that's going to be pure profit for me. And that's going to, obviously help them out.
Okay, so let's say you fix all of that, and then we get back to your question. Then what's it look like there for retail business in the harbor?
Well, I'm really interested in hearing what that the economic study, what the fruits of that come of that, because these guys are, they look at the harbor, they know different harbors, and then they actually go out and have a list of businesses that are willing to or looking into this type of basically a location, coastal harbor type businesses or whatever. So they go out and they look at all these different businesses and see about bringing them in. So I'm really interested in seeing that study, and seeing what potentially it could look like. And then, of course, you're looking at, when you look at an overview of the harbor, really kind of highlighting the areas that can be developed, because there's a lot of areas that can be, and there's a lot of areas that can't be and stuff. So really looking at, okay, what does that look like? And one of the areas where they used to, I think, put some of the tailings from the dredging and stuff.
Oh, yeah, the dredge ponds.
Yeah, the dredge ponds and stuff. And then there's a different area where they were talking about potentially putting in a hotel and stuff. So, is that, viable or whatever in that area? And I mean, hotel could be good. And
that's a question I have kind of in general is, do you see a development like a high-end hotel there? Dan the other day was talking about a Hyatt. Do you see something like that being appropriate for Crescent City?
Appropriate in what sense?
Appropriate in the sense that, like, would it? I mean,
it's too fancy. What?
Yeah, exactly. Actually,
no. I think that's what you want to do. I think you want to, if you want to be bringing that business and stuff in.
This man makes his own pastrami.
I know. I've had it. It's delicious.
But it's like there's a hotel in town that added a third floor with a little bit more like long term. They had suites and stuff, like little kitchenettes and stuff. And I remember touring this and talking with the owner, and him saying, I'm going for a different clientele. There's a clientele that wants to pay this amount, and I want to offer that to them. If you don't want to pay that amount, we have another room over here that will meet your needs and stuff. But there are people coming up and down 101 that want to spend that money.
Yeah.
And if we can get those people to stay a day, an extra day and a half, that is a lot of an extra meal, an extra time at Ocean World, going down to Trees of Mystery. I mean, all these different things. It's just going to help that area to spend more money
in the economy,
more money within that local economy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So
Great.
I think a Hyatt, a Marriott. Again, look at the plan, make sure it makes sense, and if it's appropriate. Yeah, I mean, I think it could be something that could really help out, make it, that destination. And once you get, again, another high end, or air quotes here, high end, hotel there, that's going to bring in other businesses that say, hey, I want to be next to them, I want to be by them, and then all of a sudden you've got, a lot of businesses wanting to be in the harbor.
It seems like the time is right for that too, because everything from Beachfront Park all the way around the harbor, the work that's gone on since the recovering from the last tsunami, all of the just the way the look and feel has changed in the harbor, and that whole it's like it seems primed for some sort of development, some
yeah.
sort of big step forward too. So it's an exciting time to be running for the Harbor Commission.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, and you just mentioned Beachfront Park. I dropped my son off at work at the end of Front Street there, and that little pump track, the little bicycle pump track. There are kids on that thing like every second I go by there. There's always a bunch of kids on there, and I think just what a great little, little investment here, but for the community. And man, it is getting utilized. Kids are having fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that when you do those little developments that the community responds to and likes, that's a great thing.
Yeah,
so,
they add up. They pile on each other.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. So looking forward to hopefully making some of those changes within the harbor that community can get behind and using, and then 5 years, 6 years from now, we're looking at a much different harbor landscape, or at least have a lot of systems in place where we're moving towards that that harbor that we all want.
Yeah.
So it is 10:36 the time. Shall we wrap up, or do you want to? You have
that
more?
Sounds good.
Okay.
What do you think?
Let me recap. Let me do the radio thing. You're tuned to KFUG Community Radio, and we're speaking. Jessica Sanar Andrews and myself, Paul Kritz, are speaking with Devon Morgante, who is running for Harbor Commission.
What is to you, like, what is the most important thing you'd like voters to take away from this interview, or just in general?
Even your candidacy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the biggest part is that, I am a businessman. I have had a business in this, area, had it for about just under 10 years, the culinary education, and I want to be a part of that process. I want to be a part of, just working with the team towards the greater good of the community. And like I said, communication is a big thing. I'll work with anyone. I said I don't want to throw away the good in pursuit of the perfect. We need to be moving forward. So as long as we're taking steps to be moving forward, and I think that's a good thing.
Right on. Well, Devon, thank you for coming in today and sharing your vision for the harbor.
Thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
All right. This is I'm super excited about this election, actually. Even just the one race. I haven't been invested in a race here in Del Norte like this in a while.
That's cool.
It's really, really cool, actually. So we're going to get back into the music and work our way toward the top of the hour.